Revealed. Inspiring Black CEO's incredible Mandarin response exposed racism and stopped $2.1 billion deal. The air in Malik's office crackled with pressure. Years of hard work, sleepless nights, and relentless determination coalesced into this single moment. They were just moments away from securing a groundbreaking $2.1 billion deal, a dream he chased since he was a kid in Atlanta. His parents, both veterans, taught him about sacrifice and resilience. Their lessons shaped him into the leader he was today, a leader unyielding in the face of adversity. But then it happened. In the middle of the negotiation, a veiled comment slipped from the lips of a partner, dripping with the kind of prejudice that brings stomachs to knots. It was a casual jab, but to Malik it struck like a lightning bolt. As if the room itself contracted, Malik felt peculiarly small despite his towering title. Murmurs exchanged between his colleagues echoed loud and clear. Some felt awe, others felt discomfort. Malik's reputation, a fragile artwork he painstakingly painted, now hung in the balance. At that moment Malik glanced around the table, eyeing his team's expressions. Confusion, resentment, and concern intertwined like strands in a fraying rope. Do I fight for authenticity or chase this massive opportunity? He thought. The stakes had never been higher. Would standing up against prejudice dismantle years of sacrifice his parents made for him? The tightness in his chest grew unbearable, a grim reminder of the burden he chose to carry. Then, recalling his recent passion for Mandarin, Malik seized the moment. He rose from his seat, heart pounding like a drum inside his chest. 我不想再忍耐这个了, he declared, voice steady in a language he knew could transcend borders. The words flowed, challenging not only his counterparts but, unexpectedly, resonating deep within himself. He spoke of respect and dignity, breaking barriers with every syllable. The astonished expressions changed from skepticism to intrigue. His Mandarin, an armor of authenticity in that tension-filled room, sparked alive the roots of something greater. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. In the midst of the stunned silence, a member of his team stood up, voicing support. Others joined in one by one. Colleagues chimed in, creating an unexpected chorus of solidarity. Emotion surged like a tidal wave. Malik could feel the weight of history lifting from his shoulders. But the clock was ticking. The deal hung precariously, caught in the storm of social justice and financial ambition. Reality crashed in. Their long-sought-after deal was in jeopardy because of his stand. Yet there was something beautiful, a gentle feeling of hope amid turmoil, as if they were all on the brink of a new understanding. Malik's heart raced, caught in a battle that was as much about societal constructs as it was about numbers. He wondered, would his stand on integrity lead to a transformative path for the entire tech industry? Or would it be the very thing that cost him everything? As the tension escalated, he inhaled deeply, ready to confront the uncertainty. The promise of success loomed, redefining not only his ambitions but the very essence of what it meant to truly succeed in America. Would he risk it all? In the fullness of the moment, he knew this was just the beginning. The room pulsed with a silence that felt thick enough to cut. Malik could almost taste the anticipation, and his heart thudded in his chest, a relentless reminder of the choice laid before him. He stood there, feeling the weight of his team's eyes on him. Some looked relieved, others bewildered, while a few harbored traces of worry for what this might mean for their careers. "Thank you, Malik," one of his senior advisors whispered, a flicker of courage igniting in their gaze. "You just put words to what many of us felt but didn't dare say." Those words burned into Malik's mind, fueling him as he turned to face the table again, determination knitting his brows together. He could hear the faint sound of a clock ticking in the background, the seconds slipping away. The deal, $2.1 billion, loomed large and tempting. But was it worth it if it meant selling a piece of his soul? He had sacrificed so much already, proven wrong the doubters. He couldn't turn back now. "Let us address the issue," he said, pivoting slightly to the CEO from the other side, who wore an expression of mild surprise. I won't allow discrimination, not now, not ever. It's time we embrace this change, not shy away from it. At his words, the atmosphere shifted. He could see a murmur spreading among the executives, some nodding thoughtfully, while others sat in stiff silence. Malik's words were more than just a response. They were a rallying cry. Every one of us in this room has a role to play in ensuring equality, he continued, his voice gaining strength. We're in a position to change the narrative, to redefine success in a way that includes everyone at the table. We're not just here for profit. We're here to make an impact. Kiana, a rising star on Malik's team, stepped forward, her voice steady as she added, "This isn't just about today or this deal. It's about the message we send going forward. If we want to pave the way for future leaders, we need to stand united." Malik glanced around the table. Faces transformed from skepticism to budding hope. One by one he saw a spark ignite in them. His bold stand was igniting their own fierce emotions. It was as if they were all waiting for permission to embrace vulnerability and assert their true values. But even as their collective energy built, Malik felt a twist in his gut. The stakes were climbing, and he was painfully aware of the clock ticking louder in the background. What if this unified front did cost them everything they worked for? That thought lingered like a shadow in the corners of his mind. As if reading his thoughts, Kiana shot him a supportive smile, the warmth of it cutting through his doubt. Then the CEO finally spoke, his eyes narrowing thoughtfully. "Your passion is commendable. However, you need to understand that this is a business. Emotional appeals can derail negotiations," he said. Though Malik could see the uncertainty flickering beneath the surface of that steely facade. "Sometimes the bravest decisions in business change the game," Malik fired back, holding his ground. "But if this deal is contingent on sidestepping important truths, then maybe, just maybe, it's not the right deal for us." With that, he felt the air shift again, charged with possibility. His conviction hung in the air, a heavy, palpable force, as if it could sway their fates. But what would the others choose? Malik took a breath, bracing for what was to come. Would his stand inspire profound change, or push them over an unbridgeable divide? His heart thundered, caught in that moment of gripping uncertainty. The future lay just within reach, tantalizingly close, yet terrifyingly uncertain. What would the others choose? As their gazes locked, Malik knew this moment could change everything, or cost him everything he ever dreamed of. The silence stretched, thick and oppressive. Malik's heart raced as he met the gazes around the table. Each pair of eyes seemed to reflect a multitude of emotions: hope, worry, determination. But it was the CEO's expression that held him captive. The man's brow furrowed deeply, his mouth a tight line. "Let us be clear," the CEO said slowly, weighing each word as if it were a precious artifact. "This isn't just about a deal. It's about livelihoods. Yours, mine, all of us in this room. The question isn't just about what's right. It's about what's feasible." Malik took a breath. He could sense the energy shifting, like wind before a storm, charged with potential and a hint of danger. "With all due respect, sir," Malik replied, his voice steady, "feasibility is meaningless if we compromise our values. This is more than money. It's about who we want to be as a company, as leaders." The ticking clock blared in his ears, each tick a reminder of the stakes. Could he really stand alone if the tide turned against him? But in the back of his mind a familiar phrase echoed. Leadership is often about making the tough calls, not just the safe ones. Kiana drew in a breath, her fingers gripping the edge of the table, as if she were grounding herself against the wave of uncertainty. "What we're discussing is transformative. This company can set a precedent, redefine success in a new era," she said. Her voice trembled but held a fierce conviction that resonated through the air. Malik nodded, feeling the swell of unity around him. "We have a chance to be a voice of change. Imagine future leaders who see us as pioneers, not just of profit, but of progress." He glanced around at the group, seeing a flicker of something in their eyes: possibility. But still the fear clung to some like shadows in the dark. The CEO leaned back, crossing his arms as if weighing his options. "I hear both of you truly. But change doesn't come without risk." A murmur rippled through the executives, some nodding in reluctant agreement, others frowning. Malik captured the moment, trying to push the momentum forward. "Every advancement in business comes with its own risk," Malik pressed. But if we all stand here today, united, we send a message of strength not just to our competitors, but to every person who's ever felt marginalized or overlooked. We can be the voice of integrity in this industry. As his words settled, Malik felt the room buzzing with tension, charged with uncertainty and hope. He could see some of his team exchanging glances, their expressions a mixture of apprehension and determination. Were they ready for this? Okay, the CEO finally said, his tone still measured. Let us say we explore this path. Show me the data. What would it mean for our shareholders? What can we do to secure their support while still making the right choice? Malik felt a surge of relief. They were still in the game, still negotiating a future that held promise and possibility. We need to create a detailed proposal that outlines the potential benefits financially and ethically. Kiana scribbled notes quickly, her enthusiasm clear. But as the room shifted back to strategy, Malik felt a residual anxiety churn in his stomach. Would the proposal sway the skeptics? Or was he setting them up for failure? Moments blurred as they brainstormed, diving deep into numbers, projections, and ethical guidelines. It was exhilarating yet exhausting. As the clock ticked on, Malik focused, pouring his energy into crystallizing their vision into something tangible. He wouldn't let fear undermine their mission, a charge to fight for what was just. By the time the discussion wound down, fatigue weighed on everyone. But the atmosphere had transformed. There was a clarity amidst the chaos, a shared purpose budding on the horizon of their future. Let us take a break, the CEO said finally, rubbing his temples. We come back with fresh eyes in an hour. As they stood, Malik shared an encouraging nod with Kiana. But he couldn't shake the gnawing feeling that despite their progress, the hardest part was yet to come. Would they truly have the courage to follow through? As they filtered out of the room, Malik's mind whirled with possibilities, fear and hope intermingling in a tight dance. When the clock struck the next hour, he would not just face the boardroom again, he would step onto a battleground that could shape the future of everyone in this room. But in that moment, as Malik collected his thoughts, he couldn't escape the nagging worry. What consequences awaited them when the confrontation resurfaced? The hour passed like a thundercloud building in the sky, heavy with tension and anticipation. Malik sat alone for a moment, the empty room echoing whispers of uncertainty. He replayed every word they had shared, every expression that passed across his colleagues' faces. It felt like a pivotal moment, a chance to tip the scales toward something greater than themselves or slip into the shadows of conformity. When the door swung open, it felt like the air shifted. Malik's heart picked up the pace as his team filed back in, faces set with renewed determination. Kiana was the last one through. Her eyes sparkled with a mix of anxiety and hope. She met Malik's gaze and nodded, silently communicating that they were in this together. Let us get started, the CEO said, taking his place at the head of the table again. The weight of his gaze felt more intense this time, scrutinizing and searching as if he was gauging their commitment. I hope all of you have had time to think about what we discussed. This is a significant moment. We need to determine if we're ready to chart a new course. Malik felt the charge of the room crackle around him. Sir, we've prepared a preliminary outline of the proposal. He began, presenting the extensive research they had gathered while balancing ethics and shareholder interests. Every line he spoke felt like a thread weaving in and out, trying to knit together the hearts and minds around the table. As he detailed projections, the room became a living entity, breathing in every figure and possibility. Kiana joined in, expanding on key statistics and citing examples of successful paradigm shifts that had driven other companies forward. Their energy intertwined, forming a shield of conviction that seemed unbreakable. But something in the CO's demeanor told Malik it wouldn't be enough. Your proposal is ambitious, the CEO interjected, his voice a mix of admiration and skepticism. But ambition without a robust strategy is a recipe for disaster. How do we ensure that our stakeholders are not just on board but enthusiastic? The question hung in the air like a lead weight. Malik felt his chest tighten. We need to engage them early, he answered, searching for the right words. We can't make this about us. We need their voices to be part of the conversation. It's about building a community, not just a business model. A murmur ran through the boardroom, as if he had struck a chord. The atmosphere shifted again, hope breaking through the clouds of doubt. Engaging our stakeholders means opening dialogue, Kiana added, her voice gaining momentum now. It's about bridging the gap between profit and purpose. By involving them in the narrative, we transform resistance into advocacy. The CEO's furrowed brow relaxed slightly, but Malik could still sense the reservations swirling in the corners of the room. He had fought too hard for this moment to let dissatisfaction fester. If we frame our transparency as a commitment to responsibility, we give stakeholders what they truly crave: authenticity, Malik said, his voice rising with passion. People want to believe in a cause, not just a corporation. They want to feel seen. As he looked around, hope flickered in the faces of his colleagues. It was as if they were awakening from a long slumber. With every passing second, the collective courage began to swell. One voice after another jumped in, sharing ideas on how to communicate their vision, making the narrative stronger. Yet, beneath that budding hope lay an undercurrent of trepidation. Malik felt the pressure mounting as the CEO scanned the room. The clock ticked ominously, reminding him that time was running out. "I need to know," the CEO finally stated, his voice firm yet receptive. "Can we truly pull this off?" Malik locked eyes with Kiana, a silent exchange blossoming between them, each recognizing their commitment. "If we stand together, we can," Malik responded. "This is our moment to redefine who we are as a company and catalyze real change." Just then, a commotion erupted from the hallway. Voices grew louder, filled with urgency. The door burst ajar and an employee rushed in, his face pale. "You need to see this." Now, he stammered, holding up a phone. Malik's heart raced. What had happened? Had their proposal already sparked resistance? The atmosphere shifted again. This time it was electric with suspense. Everyone turned to the newcomer, silently demanding answers. Malik felt the present shrink, anticipation building like a coiled spring, ready to snap. What awaited them on that screen? Would it be the ally they needed or the fight they dreaded? Malik's heart dropped. The employee, visibly shaken, held the phone like a lifeline, eyes darting around the room. Malik stepped forward, ignoring the buzzing in his ears, trying to read the stillness on his colleagues' faces. The CEO leaned forward, his frown deepening. "What does it say?" the CEO asked, impatience creeping into his tone. "Watch this," the employee said, tapping the screen. The video played out, revealing a clip of a recent press conference featuring a black CEO of a rival firm. He spoke about a blatant incident of racism he had encountered during negotiations for a $2.1 billion deal. Words like discrimination, integrity, and equality echoed through the room, each syllable hitting Malik like a drumbeat. As the video progressed, the CEO's narrative was striking and bold. He described how the clutches of institutional prejudice were woven into the fabric of the business world, but rather than recoiling from it, he resolved to confront it fiercely. Malik could see recognition on several faces around the table. They were no longer just watching a corporate video. They were witnessing a call to action. The room buzzed to life as murmurs started rippling through. This could change everything," Kiana said softly, her expression a mix of awe and worry. Malik's mind raced. This wasn't just about profit. It was about standing up for something right, something bigger than their proposal. "What's our response?" the CEO demanded, snapping Malik back. This could ignite a firestorm. The weight of his eyes bore down again, and Malik felt a mix of dread and determination flooding his senses. They were at a crossroads. The proposal they had so carefully crafted had suddenly transformed into a response to a larger societal issue. The potential for their initiative to be written off as mere virtue signaling became all too real. Malik felt sweat bead on his forehead. They needed to act with intention, but how? "We need to address this head-on," Malik said, taking a breath. "If we don't stand alongside this narrative, we risk not only our credibility but also our integrity. We can leverage this moment to pave a pathway toward positive change not just for our company, but for the entire industry." Kiana nodded in agreement, her voice strong. "That's it. We incorporate this perspective into our proposal. We'll create a platform that champions diversity and inclusion, not just in our words but through actionable plans." Malik looked around. Excitement and fear mixed together in an electric charge. Was this really the moment they had been waiting for? A moment that could shift the tide? The stakes were higher than ever, and he realized their proposal now had the potential to be a lifeline not just for their careers, but for a community longing to be heard. "We need to draft a response letter," And we need to do it now, the CEO decreed, eyes blazing with purpose. A commitment not only in words but in actions. If we sink or swim, we do it together. The energy at the table had transformed from anxiety to urgency. Faces locked with resolve, voices began to rise in a beautiful cacophony of ideas. Malik could hardly believe it. They had a chance to play a part in something monumental. But then a heavy thought clouded his mind. Had they waited too long? Would they be taken seriously without a solid track record? The fear of failure hovered near, a stark possibility. Malik stole a glance at Kiana, who grinned back at him, as if reading his thoughts. As the team began articulating their collective vision, Malik's stomach churned. The risk was immense, but so were the rewards. Would they be pioneers of a new era? Or would they crumble under the pressure to conform? Just as he was about to speak, the door swung open again. Another employee rushed in, breathless and frantic. You won't believe what's happening outside. Protesters, they're rallying for change right now. They want corporate accountability. Malik's heart raced again. There was no turning back now. Would they seize this moment of change? Or would they let it slip away? The tide of history bore down heavier than ever, and the next chapter was about to unfold. Malik's pulse quickened as the employee's words sunk in. Outside, voices melded into a rhythmic chant, a chorus demanding change. Each syllable felt like a drumbeat, echoing in his chest, aligning perfectly with the energy that sparked within the boardroom. The urgency was thick enough to cut through the tension. Protesters? The CEO repeated, brow furrowing. What exactly are they demanding? They're calling for corporations to own their biases and take real steps toward diversity. The employee replied, still panting as if he had sprinted from the street. They want transparency, accountability, and immediate action. Malik exchanged a glance with Kiana. This was not just a chance for their company to respond. It was a historic movement, a turning point that could redefine everything they thought they knew about their industry. Malik felt adrenaline rush through him, a wild mix of fear and exhilaration. If they're out there, Kiana said, her voice steady, we need to be here. We can't miss this moment. We should invite them in. Gasps erupted around the table. Malik saw confusion, and the unmistakable shadow of doubt crossed several faces. But not his or Kiana's. What do you mean, invite them in? The CEO asked, narrowing his eyes. They'll just walk in here and take over? This isn't a protest. It's a business meeting. This is bigger than business, Malik interjected, feeling every heartbeat thrumming in his throat. What if we opened the doors and showed them we're listening? We could foster a dialogue instead of a divide. It's a chance to create something real, to demonstrate that we are committed to real change. Are you serious? One of the older executives scoffed, crossing his arms. They won't come in here. They're angry. And they should be, Kiana added, her voice raising slightly. That's the point, we can be part of that conversation. We can't shape our future in a bubble. Silence enveloped the room as Malik scanned the gathering. The weight of decision pressed down, tangible and potent. Eyes turned from one to another, weighing risk against opportunity. Every heartbeat seemed to echo loudly in the stillness. The CEO rubbed his temples, deep in thought. And if this backfires? He asked finally, voice low. What if it goes south? Malik inhaled sharply, clarity dawning. What if it doesn't? We can't be afraid of what might happen. We need to be bold, to claim our part of this narrative. If we don't act now, history will remember us as bystanders. Finally, the CEO straightened, something flickering in his eyes like a spark catching flame. Fine. Let us do it. Kiana, Malik, coordinate with the security. Make sure they can enter safely. We won't just address the issue, we'll engage. As they moved, ideas flowed like a vital current. Malik could hardly keep up with the surge of thoughts and plans forming, but he felt a newfound purpose pressing forward. There was a collective alignment, a shared vision unfolding that felt as electric as the chants outside. With Kiana at his side, they hurried to preparation, adrenaline fueling their movements. A possibility hung in the air, thrilling yet daunting. Would they really turn this boardroom into a safe space for those rallying outside? Would their authenticity shine through? The door swung open, and the crowd beyond surged into view. Faces filled with hope and determination stood beyond polished glass and steel, their voices rising like an anthem. Malik felt the weight of 1,000 expectations, a weight he chose to bear. And then in that charged silence, he thought about the power of facing fears head-on. What might happen next could dismantle barriers or, worse, expose their vulnerabilities, but it was a risk they had to take. Malik's heart raced as he watched Kiana step forward to speak with the protesters. Would this moment of courage spark a movement and a change that could echo for years? Or would it lead to more questions than their team had ever anticipated? The moment was poised to change everything, and uncertainty loomed just beyond the threshold. As the door swung wide, Malik's heart sank and soared all at once. The noise of the crowd washed over them, a wave of voices and emotions, mingling with their apprehension like a river flowing toward the ocean. Kiana stepped into the spotlight first, her determination radiating outward. She raised her hands, calming the swell of voices. "Everyone, please. We're here to listen." Malik watched her, gripped with awe. She had a way about her, a magnetism that drew people in, even in the face of fury and hurt. Somewhere deep within his chest, he felt a flicker of hope, but the fear still gnawed. What if they didn't want to listen? What if they couldn't come to an understanding? The tension in the air vibrated like a taut string, and he knew he needed to act. Stepping beside Kiana, he saw the diverse crowd, young and old, hopeful and defiant. Each face told a story, each voice a need. "Today we're inviting dialogue," he called out, his voice carrying despite the ambient noise. "Your voices matter. We want to listen to your experiences, to hear your demands." The crowd quieted, eyes narrowing, measuring his sincerity. But he held his ground. The only way through was together. One woman stepped forward. She raised her chin defiantly. "You say that, but do you mean it? Corporations like yours have sold us short for too long." Malik felt the sting of her words, and he nodded, swallowing hard. "You're right. We have fallen short. I'm here to change that." A murmur rippled through the crowd, doubt mingling with curiosity. Kiana leaned in closer to Malik, her voice barely above a whisper. "You have to show them. Words are just that if there's no action." He nodded, the resolve rising within him. "What can we commit to? How can we take your concerns and transform them into actions?" A young man with blue hair stepped up, his eyes fierce yet hopeful. "Start with transparency. Let us see inside your processes. Make sure there's accountability. We need to know you're serious." Malik felt the warmth of agreement pulsating through the gathering. He glanced at Kiana, who smiled back encouragingly. This was a start. "I can promise that," Malik replied firmly. "We will open our books. We will lay bare our processes and address our biases. It's not going to be easy, but change rarely is." With every word, the energy shifted. Malik could see their apprehension wane just a bit. There was something magical in this moment, something potent. He felt it in the air, the turning tide of change. "Let us build a committee," Kiana interjected, her eyes sparkling. "A team of community members and our executives, working together to implement real plans." "What's the timeline?" the blue-haired man challenged. "Let us set monthly meetings," Malik replied, the excitement bubbling up within. "We'll collaborate, assess progress, and make this our priority." Cheers erupted from some in the crowd, while others still looked skeptical. But a small flicker of hope ignited. Malik could almost taste it. As the conversation unfolded, Malik's heart swelled with determination. This was the dialogue they needed, the beginning of something profound. But as the thrill of engagement filled the air, a voice shouted from somewhere in the back, cutting through the growing excitement. "This isn't just about you. What will you do when your board fights against these changes?" The question hung heavily, deflating the momentum for a moment. Malik felt his stomach drop, uncertainty pressing back in. All eyes were now upon him. Could he really sway the board? His pulse quickened again, but he straightened his shoulders. "I stand here today ready to fight for change. If they don't want to support that, then it's time to have a long, difficult conversation. Because I can't go back to business as usual." The crowd buzzed with energy, but Malik's mind raced ahead. Would this stand be enough to stir the roots of change deep inside their corporate culture? He glanced around, locking eyes with Kiana, who seemed to sense his tumult. "Let us keep this going," she urged, a fire igniting behind her determination. Their voices merged again, but Malik knew this was just the beginning. The challenge ahead was daunting, and he couldn't shake the weight of what lay beneath his words. Would the board embrace this new vision, Or would they fight him at every turn? The uncertainty loomed ahead, clawing at the edges of his hope. And just then, as they shared ideas, Malik felt the ground shift beneath him. Something had been lit in their midst. Would this spark flourish into a movement, or would it fizzle out like so many good intentions before? The answer lay just beyond the horizon, waiting to be discovered. The buzz of the crowd continued to swell, a chaotic mix of voices reflecting both excitement and skepticism. Malik's heart raced, knowing the weight of their future rested on his shoulders. He glanced at Kiana, who stood firm beside him, her eyes gleaming with hope but shadowed by the same uncertainties swirling in his mind. "Let us not lose this momentum," Malik called out, projecting as much confidence as he could muster. "You've raised valid points. Let us not only talk about the problems but also the solutions." The crowd began to nod, some faces lighting up as they sensed that their voices might lead somewhere tangible. "More than just meetings," Kiana added, her voice strong. "We want to hear your ideas. For every proposal you bring, we'll bring our resources to help make it happen." A man in a worn jacket raised his hand. "What about job opportunities? Our community needs work. We want more than just equal treatment. We want a fair shot at jobs, real jobs." His voice rang out with passion, striking a chord in many hearts of those gathered. Malik felt a surge of determination. "You deserve that, and we need to open up more pathways for employment. I commit to creating a local job fair within the next 2 months. A collaborative space for businesses and community members alike." He hoped the structure of such an event would energize them even further. Excited murmurs rippled through the crowd as optimism began to blossom. But Malik could still see some frowns and narrowed eyes. The fight wasn't over. "Do you honestly think your board will back you?" a woman shouted from the back. Her fierce expression reminded him of the urgency surrounding them. "That's the challenge," he admitted. His voice turned quieter yet certain. "But today, standing here, I promise to advocate for you. This community is where change begins." Kiana squeezed his hand, grounding him. He inhaled deeply, pushing the air from his lungs as if to purge the doubt. "I want transparency in our operations. I want you to hold us accountable, to push us to do better. We'll keep the dialogue open." Slowly, he could see some nods of approval. Hope flickered like a candle in the dark. One after another, community members stepped forward, speaking passionately about their struggles and dreams. Malik listened intently, soaking in every word. Each story connected like threads, weaving them all together, old pain and new hope finding a common ground. Suddenly the atmosphere shifted. An older gentleman, known for his bluntness, stood and cleared his throat. "We've heard empty promises before. This time it can't just be pretty words. You need to back that up with action." His gaze bore through Malik. The challenge was heavy, but Malik was ready. "I understand your skepticism, truly. Today will not be the end of our engagement. It will be a rallying point. Let us set up a community board, including you all, to oversee our commitments to this plan." Cheers erupted once more. But Malik could sense the undercurrent of mistrust still lurking. It was a reminder that actions would indeed speak louder than words. But just before they could dive deeper into planning, a young girl barely 10 quietly stepped forward. Her wide eyes shone with innocence. "Will you really change things, or will you go back when it's hard?" Malik's heart twisted. This wasn't an easy answer. "Sweetheart, I promise to fight for every one of you, to make this a better world. But I can't do it alone." She nodded, visibly weighing his words. Malik found hope in her gaze, knowing this was the kind of connection they needed. As the sun began to set, washing the sky in hues of orange and pink, Malik felt a renewed sense of purpose. Together, they had opened a door to a future filled with possibility. But as he surveyed the crowd, fierce and determined, one question haunted him: did they truly believe in change? And would he be brave enough to face the consequences of his fight? The path ahead shimmered, yet the shadows remained. Would they light the way? Or would they dim the spark they had just ignited? As the crowd began to disband, Malik felt a weightiness in the air, a lingering echo of the conversations they had just shared. The sunset painted the horizon, but it couldn't dim the shadows that still loomed over their hopes. He could hear small groups forming around him, their voices low, discussing the best steps forward. But he worried it would take more than words to transform what had begun today. Kiana leaned towards Malik, pressing her forehead gently against his shoulder. "You did well," she whispered, her breath warm but filled with concern. "They needed to see that you care." "I hope they believe that," Malik replied, rubbing the back of his neck as he scanned the crowd. "But fear creeps in easily when you've been let down so many times before. Let us focus on the next steps," she suggested, her tone a little brighter. "You've sparked something here, and we can keep that fire alive." Just then the girl from earlier, the one with the innocent eyes, approached again, her small form now dwarfed in the enormity of the space. She clutched a paper in her hand. "Mr. Malik?" She piped up, her tone timid but firm. "Yes." Malik knelt to meet her. The warmth of her hand as she extended it made his heart swell. "I drew a picture of our community. It has a big tree and everyone is working together beneath it." She handed him the drawing, a simple sketch. Yet the roots of the tree intertwined into multiple hands, a visual representation of their unity. He accepted it, stunned. "This is beautiful. You have a gift. Thank you." He studied her creation, unable to suppress the emotion that rose. "Tells a story like we're all connected." "Yes." She beamed, a smile lighting up her face. "That's the story I want. The one where we all help each other." "Exactly." Malik's voice softened, the weight of responsibility mixing with hope. "Let us work together to make this picture come alive." She nodded eagerly before disappearing back into the crowd. But her essence, her belief, lingered like a sweet scent of blooming flowers. As Malik stood, a few community members lingered nearby, emboldened by the encounter. One elderly woman stepped forward, her hands trembling slightly. "You know, Malik, change doesn't happen overnight, but your willingness to try. It means the world to many of us." "Thank you," he said, appreciating the sincerity in her eyes. "I won't stop trying, but I need your help." The elderly woman shuffled closer. "Promise us you won't let others' doubts deter you. Sometimes it's those promises that help us believe in ourselves." Malik nodded, committing her words to heart. There would be obstacles, fear, pushback. But if they stood united, perhaps they could overcome. He could already envision their tree growing, spreading its branches across their community, creating a canopy of support and strength. As dark clouds gathered in the distance, he realized it was time to plan. "Tomorrow we meet again. Let's put this vision into action. I'll gather the resources, but I need your stories and ideas." Kiana smiled, capturing his attention with a soft silence. They exchanged a glance, one that radiated shared understanding. But just after Malik turned to leave, a loud crash shattered the night. A streetlight flickered before going dark, enveloping them all in shadow. "Malik!" Kiana shouted, her voice urgent. "What's that?" His heart jumped to a brutal rhythm as he turned towards the sound. Chaos erupted in the crowd as people began to scatter, fear twisting their faces, leaving only one question beating in his mind: what had just happened, and how would it affect their fight for change? With uncertainty gathering around them, they stood on the brink of another trial, one he hadn't anticipated. The fight was far from over. Malik's heart pounded heavily in his chest. The crash echoed in his mind, a brutal reminder that their journey was laden with challenges he never expected. Kiana's eyes widened as she scanned the crowd, searching for any clear sign of danger. The atmosphere crackled with confusion, anxiety dancing like shadows on the faces around them. People yelled. Some were running. Others huddled close, caught in a whirlwind of fear. "Stay together," Malik shouted, his voice firm yet steady. It was all he could do to bring order back amidst the chaos, to remind everyone they were in this together. He reached for Kiana's hand, grounding both her and himself in that moment. As they moved closer to the front, Malik's gaze fell on the source of the panic. A scuffle had erupted near the entrance, where their employee had tried to usher in a group of protesters. Voices became shouts, and anger so palpable filled the air. "Let us go," Kiana urged, pulling Malik toward a safer area while they assessed what needed to be done. "We can't let this derail our progress." In the midst of the uproar, Malik spotted the young girl, the one who had handed him the drawing. She was all alone now, her small figure trembling at the edge of the scene, tears streaming down her cheeks. Malik felt a sharp ache in his chest as he locked eyes with her, that innocent trust breaking his heart. "Stay here," he told Kiana as he dashed toward the girl, weaving through the crowd. "I'll get her. Be careful." Kiana called back, her tone ringing with concern, but Malik was already moving. As he approached, Malik knelt down, making himself small and inviting. "Hey there," he said softly, his heart aching at the sight of her distress. "What's your name?" "Lila," she whispered, her voice barely audible beneath the chaos. "Lila, I'm here." "You're safe," he reassured her, taking her shaking hands into his. "Can you come with me? We can find somewhere quiet." Lila nodded hesitantly, and even in the midst of turmoil, Malik felt deep determination blossoming within him. Together they navigated back through the frightened crowd, Malik shielding her from the commotion, until they found a patch of safety against the wall of the building. "You're very brave, you know that?" Malik said, crouching to her level, voice warm and calming. "This is scary, but we're going to be okay. We're going to stand by each other." Her big eyes searched his face. "But they're fighting. How will you change things if everyone just yells?" she asked, the innocence of her query piercing Malik's heart. "I know it looks that way right now," he replied, "but real change isn't just about fighting. It's about bringing people together, showing them it's time to listen, to understand. Sometimes we have to face challenges to show what we really believe in." Just then, Malik felt a shift in the atmosphere. Yells were fading, replaced by a different sound, a unifying chant rising from within the crowd. Unity. Change. Together. He glanced back at his teammates. Kiana stood tall, rallying the community members near the entrance. They were active again, no longer just participants, they were leading the charge to bring down walls instead of building barriers. "See that?" Malik pointed to Kiana and the rallying crowd, feeling embers of hope start to glow again. "They're finding their voice. They're doing what we set out to do. But what if they don't? What if it fails?" Lila's fear crept back into her voice, and Malik understood all too well. She was voicing what everyone felt: vulnerability, hidden behind a brave facade. "Failure is part of progress," he affirmed. "Every success comes with risks. But we have to keep pulling together. Real transformation means embracing the hard conversations and learning from missteps." As their hands remained locked, he felt that reassuring warmth of connection. The hope that had started with simple dialogue had now transformed into something much greater. Moments later, Kiana dashed over to them, eyes gleaming with resolve. "Malik, people are listening again. We're making headway. But we need you. Can you help us lead that video call right now?" Malik nodded decisively. "Absolutely." He turned back toward Lila, kneeling closer. "You see, Lila? Look how far we've come." Kiana smiled encouragement into Lila's eyes. "Would you like to help us share your picture? It represents your voice, what you want our community to become." Lila hesitated, uncertainty flickering again, but Malik squeezed her hand. "You've got this, together we've got this." With new purpose, they all surged towards the crowd. The rallying voices grew louder, resonating as more people began to join Malik and Kiana. Lila stepped up, clutching her, drawing close, her small figure standing tall amidst the growing wave of support. "People are going to hear you. They're going to watch us fight for change," Malik proclaimed, clarity washing over him. "Today isn't just a moment. It's the beginning of our movement." With renewed vigor, strength began to flood back into their shared space. Lila stood boldly beside Malik and Kiana, their united front shining like a beacon against the storm. Malik felt the wind shift, the tides of change surging. Those first shouts of anger had reminded them of what was at stake, what was truly possible when they chose to join forces. Together, under the vibrant hues of twilight, they would nurture the flame they had ignited. Determination crackled in their hearts. The fight wasn't over. It had just changed its course. With courage at their backs, they embraced the fray. Malik locked eyes with Lila, and for one shining moment, he felt the promise of a brighter future, one shaped not through division, but through unity and love. As he prepared to face the night ahead, he couldn't shake the feeling that they were just getting started. Each step they took together brought them closer to the profound change they collectively envisioned. And with every interaction, with every promise made, they would redefine what it meant to stand for something greater than themselves together. The change was coming, bold and undeniable. And for Malik, Kiana, Lila, and everyone in the community, this was just the beginning of a beautiful revolution. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and boost this transformation. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. Let's hear your powerful voices. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. We can create waves of change together. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share.